Yeah, I think what we have had is we had the numbers of pagans in Norfolk doubled between 2001 and 2011. Now we've got another census coming up in 2021, and there again we're keeping very close tabs on the replies that people give, and it wouldn't surprise me if the numbers of pagans doubled again. I mean, we're talking about numbers in the low thousands, but even so, I won't mention other faiths, but there are some faiths um, uh, who are, if you like, officially recognised, and um, but have less numbers than the pagans. But will it all come together? It may take generations. I think.
Yeah.
I think the what's going on in interfaith at the moment is good enough, and it gets people, uh, get people used to the idea of relatively sensible pagans. But yeah.
So, Michael, how did this begin for you? Because at some point, you obviously decided that you did not want to be a Muslim or a Christian or
Yeah.
Jewish or whatever, and you instead felt drawn to the old gods and the old ways.
Yes.
Was there any sort of particular incident that triggered that, or did it happen gradually, or was it slow awakening? How would you describe that?
Right. Well, what I would, I've been thinking about getting in contact with pagans for a little while, and I thought, no, I'm not sure if I want to be. But anyway, I saw, in my case, it was in the mid 1990s. There was a supermarket which I think it was at Caister, and it. I think it's a Tesco now, but it was another supermarket at that time, and they had a little place where you could go in and have a cup of coffee, which I did, and I saw a poster up there for the original Great Yarmouth Pagan Moot. And I thought, oh, well, that's not too far. I don't have to go too far to find out about them. And I went along and I met various people. And I thought, this is interesting enough. I'll just carry on with it. I then went up I met Val and Chris, who at that time were running the Norwich Moot, and I thought, oh well, I'll go along to them as well. There's interest. The interest was there. Yeah, so it was as a result of getting involved, really, and that's what I would recommend to anybody. They just go along, see if these are the kind of people that you like, and carry on if you want to carry on, or if not, don't. I went to Norwich School where I was force fed. I think this is the right way. Christianity. So I was Anglican Christianity in our religious in our religious knowledge classes. There was nothing was ever mentioned other than Anglican Christianity. So nothing about the Hindus, nothing about the Muslims, and so on. It was all Christianity. I was force fed that, and for a long time afterwards, I wasn't anything at all. I thought, well, don't want anything more to do with it. But when I went abroad, I was seeing paganism there, and
Where
that's
was
what.
that, Michael? Where was
Well,
that?
that was the most important place was in Austria, in Carinthia in southern Austria, where I used to go quite a bit because I was involved with a business there. It was actually a flour mill, which I was involved in. So I went to there quite a bit, and of course in Carinthia it's a very similar situation from Norwich, in that the original Roman city was abandoned, and they set up in a new place, which was Klagenfurt. And in the museum in Klagenfurt, you could see some wonderful, sculptures which had been dug up. And so there was, if you like, a fully functioning paganism on display. So yes, I used to go there, and I also remember going. Another place I had to go to for a little while was Wiesbaden and Mainz in Germany, and I looked at their Mainz was actually a capital of Roman Germany, so I went into the museum there, which again they have a fabulous Roman museum, and yeah, I was sort of in contact with, if you like, the ancient paganism, but I wasn't really hadn't really plucked up the courage to have anything to do with the modern paganism yet. But then I did, and liked what I saw, and carried on from there. Really, yeah.
And have you ever had, like what I would call a spiritual awakening? Was there ever, any kind of mystical experience or sign from a higher force that triggered something in you, or was this just literally well, I think I'll go along to a meeting sort of thing?
Yes, I see what you mean. Well, long before I actually became a pagan, I was interested in the Western magical tradition.
Ah, that's what I was fishing for. Yeah.
Yes, I was in, and I still am. Um, some people say, well, you shouldn't be interested in the occult if you're a pagan. Well, I mean, that's
Same
ridiculous.
thing. The same thing.
Because a lot of the occult was actually formed from in pagan times, and people with an interest in paganism. So, no, I never worn that. So yes, I was interested in that. The trouble with that sort of thing is there is now an occult organisation in Norwich, which is the OTO, which I could belong to if I were inclined to do so, but I'm not inclined to do so. Otherwise, really, you had to go all the way to London for meetings, and that didn't. Um, that didn't appeal to me. It was going to be an awful long way for not very much. So I tended to leave that on one side. And on the magical side, well, it's something which is private, really. Um, Although I'm willing to work with the right sort of people, if they want to do it. But yes. So I think you could probably say from about one thing was it was the day when the Iceman came down to was brought to Innsbruck. On that day, I just happened to have flown to Innsbruck rather than flown to Vienna. And so I flew to Innsbruck, and then I saw on the local TV news, I saw this item about this chap, a Stone Age man who they found in a glacier.
Mm.
And I thought, oh, that's really interesting. So I sort of started to take an interest in that. So that might be, it did strike me. I mean, there's this chap who'd obviously coming over the Brenner Pass on the local passes, Alpine passes, and he'd taken 2.5 millennia to get to Innsbruck or wherever he was going, and there was me flown all the way from Great Yarmouth. So that was a little bit of a spiritual experience, I think, figuring all that one out. Yeah, yeah,
Now, long ago, in any tribal culture,
yeah.
somebody like you would have been seen as the medicine man, the tribal shaman, or
Yeah.
whatever the Norse or Wiccan
Mm,
equivalent is
mm.
to. Do people see you that way now? I mean, do people come knocking on your door or ringing on your phone and saying, Michael, something has gone horribly wrong. You're the local, Visard or
Mm.
wizard. Can you help me, please? Can you cast a spell to get me out of this mess? And if so, what do you say?
Well, generally, I mean, if I can do anything that's going to help them, then I will do. I mean, I would say this, that you just got to the person's got to apply themselves, But the very fact we're talking here now, loud and clear, well, hopefully that could be the influence of one of my spells.
Well, yes. So you're somewhat in the shop window as the local shaman now, aren't you on here?
Well, yeah, I think the thing is that people very much associate me with uh, my study of folk magic, East Anglian folk magic, and in that sort of magic, which is, let's say, from 100 years ago, it was a power that you had. You either had the power or you didn't have the power. So I think many people have seen the talks and have drawn the conclusion that that's the only thing I do, but it's not the only thing I
No.
do. As I hopefully, in the area we've covered, it's lots of things that I do and I'm interested in. Whether I have any magical power at all, well, that's just in the lap of the gods, isn't it? Really, yeah, yeah.
Well, that's something of a teaser for the next time we speak on here, isn't it? That you do know an awful lot about a lot of other things that are very specific to
Yeah.
the specific region, and the word toad somewhat springs to mind. Toad magic, some people may be old enough to remember
Mm.
Touchwood, the TV toad. I think it was Catweasel, wasn't it?
Oh, right. Oh,
Catweasel had
yeah.
his little pet toad. As some of the over 50s might recall that TV show. But
Moon
toads,
Moon Stallion is another one where that has got an actual toad ritual being done in it, for the kiddies.
really,
And Moon Stallion, I think it's Moon Stallion. It was a BBC series, and as part of it, they had the baddie did this toad ritual, and it was quite good. It was quite accurate up to a point, and many people have come up to me and said, "Oh, well, did I get my ideas from that?" But no, I didn't. I I knew about toad witchcraft long before that, Yeah.
and
But,
many other forms. Egyptian Hermetic
right.
magic
Yes.
being. That's what I associate you with the most. But
That was the first thing that I did, and um, in fact, it was the first talk I gave to a pagan moot in Great Yarmouth, and there was this little girl who was her mum came along to see the talk, but she was rushing around. I thought, well, I didn't want to put her off, but anyway, she carried on rushing around, and well, the little girl has just won the Young Political Journalist of the Year award, so. Um, I don't think she was interested in my talk, and I wouldn't have expected her to be. But maybe a little bit of like, yes. I mean, I did a lot on hermetic magic, and it's still something I do. And I'm going to be doing a talk for the Pagan Moot in Norwich at the end of August. I think it's the last day in August. Um, on uh, yeah, the work. I think I'm going to call it the work of the wizard. That's right. Yeah, on the 30th of August. But that will be getting more into that type of area. The wizard and the individual magical practitioner, if I can put it that way. Yeah, yeah.
and Okay, and we're sort of coming up to the end of our time.
Yeah.
I always feel when I get talking to you, we'd probably go on till midnight, if we started at breakfast time. But I have to edit these things, which
Oh, yes,
takes
of course.
a fair bit of time. What would be your advice to anybody who was thinking about embarking upon a magical path as part of their spiritual experience?
Ah, well, that's an interesting question, isn't it? I mean, uh, the problem you've got now is there are vast numbers of books and so on which which give details about magical rituals and what have you. But I would say that the important thing really, if you want to be part of the pagan community, which many people do, is go along and get involved with your local pagan community. I mean, there are groups in Norwich, there are groups in Great Yarmouth, and so on, and one in King's Lynn as well. So go along there, see how much you like it, see how much you can talk to people, But to be a wizard, well, I think to be a wizard really, it comes from the same sort of route that witches came from, because witches originally was the wise craft, and in the wizard it was a person who was wise. So you've got to have the wisdom there, and also I think it implies knowledge as well. If you're the sort of person who doesn't want to get involved with the knowledge side of it, don't. There are other ways to progress. But if you do, then carry on. Much easier than it was in my very much younger days, when because I started in a way back at school, and I couldn't find anything. I couldn't really find anything to do with the magical stuff for a long time. But eventually there was a shop in Bridewell Alley called Bristow's Books, and I went along. They actually had quite a lot of things. Yeah, sure.
Final question: is a wizard born, or can he be made, or she?
Well, I would say the inclination has got to be there, but so made rather than born, I think. I mean, I was born in Norwich, but I had a hematoma, so that whoops. But yeah, I think the a wizard is made. I can't think of any of the great wizards of history who didn't accompany that with an enormous amount of study.